man. They got us pinned down.
I know. I can't get a shot off.
Who does this guy think he is?
Bro, that was so badass. You wish you had skills like that.
A lot of the game must have gotten cut out because when we originally heard about the game was like, you know, this fresh new EA team, you know, put together to make like innovative, new, creative software. And even though the concept was kind of simple, it's a shooter, you know, third-person shooter, at least it was about co-op, focusing on co-op, and they were trying to tackle these kind of like modern, real-world issues. They had a bunch of grand ambitions with this game, but somehow along the line, it just got toned down into what is essentially a pretty simple shooter. The subject matter is very, you know, very serious in a way, but it's put together. The game, the narrative is very slapsticky and kind of much sillier than I thought it was going to be.
And it feels like a really safe story too.
Yeah.
Because they're not saying, you know, that private military is good. They're not saying that private military is bad. And they sort of wrap it in kind of this paint by numbers, you know, militaristic story, conspiracy theory storyline thing.
We hear about these ambushes every day on the news. I think someone's telling them where our troops are.
You and your conspiracy theories. You're a real piece of work, Tice.
At some point in the game, they kind of go like, wow, you know, I wish we weren't in the army because then we could do, you know, all this other stuff, or we'd have cool weapons. You know, it's like, I wish it wouldn't just like hit you over the head with that kind of stuff.
A year ago, you didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, and now you're blowing 10 grand on sports betting?
Whatever. If I win, I'll be able to pay off my credit cards.
You are out of your mind.
We're pulling so much bank now. How can you worry about cash?
We're making bank because we're at war now. This war ends and you're not going to be able to sustain your lifestyle.
Relax, man. This war ain't ending anytime soon.
I think they had to try to have a little bit more mass appeal with it, but, you know, I agree. Well, I totally agree. Like, I wish it didn't have to do that. I think they set out to have the AI really try to replicate, you know, playing with a human, and I think they actually toned it down as they were developing it, because I just don't think it worked quite as well as they had hoped. You know, what it ended up being is you're actually kind of leading the guy the entire time now. Like when you're playing with the AI, it doesn't really feel quite co-op, I would say. I don't know, and that's why the game really is a much better co-op experience, I think.
You know, they make both of your guys get to a particular door before you can open it, so you don't end up with somebody at the end of the level and somebody at the beginning like you can in Halo co-op sometimes. So there's some smart stuff there, but most of the time it's just you and a guy next to you walking down an extremely linear pathway, sometimes an open area, but usually like, you know, any linear pathway, like shooting at the same guys together.
I'm glad it opens up like halfway through the game. The stages really do open up and it's not quite so linear.
I like the core aggro gameplay quite a bit. I think that was pretty fun.
What it reminds me a lot of is like the Brothers in Arms game, where it's like you send your guys recovering fire, you know, and then that's what it feels like.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it feels like a single player mechanic. It doesn't feel like something that's necessary for co-op, because when Ryan and I were running around, like we would do it sometimes, like try to get aggro so that I can get this turret guy, but it turned out Ryan could just snipe the turret guys through the little hole. We were both just like running and shooting things, and it didn't really seem to matter much.
Yeah, it's very, very run and gun. It was mostly those kind of boss characters that you fight where you can't injure them at all by shooting them head on. You have to shoot them in the back. And their armor, I don't think they did a very good job with the art for those characters, because it seems really arbitrary. Like a barrage of bullets coming at someone should not hurt them at all. And you just have to go all the way around and shoot them from behind to make them, you know, die, and it only takes a couple shots. It just feels really kind of thrown together, I think.
You have to be able to have levels where you can order your guy to go here, or you can order him to go there, and he starts shooting, gets the aggro, and then you go around. And since you have to be able to order the guy in the single player experience, it means that the levels can't be designed to split you up.
Back to back, Elliot!
Going back to back. I mean, that was originally kind of a gameplay element, so that, you know, in the middle of a level you could be like, hey, let's go back to back, you know, we'll be kind of invulnerable for a little bit or whatever. But the way it's set up in the final version is that you're just kind of like it just decides like, oh, okay, you know, we're going
It's like
back
a
to back now.
cutscene.
You know, it's like a cutscene.
One major co-op mechanic in the entire game that like is actually new and different. The pick a door off
Yeah.
a car, hold
Yeah.
a shield, and have your guy stand behind you and fire thing.
Yeah.
That's like the one gameplay innovation that I can think of that was like really different, kind of fun. I hadn't seen co-op before.
Also, it had the whole Perfect Dark Zero, you know,
Arrow.
like arrow thing. And it's like if you have to rely on, I mean, I didn't have to rely on it that much, but you know, if you don't always know your objectives of where you're supposed to go and stuff, then you have to rely on that. You know, there is a problem. You know.
We were out in this open field area, and the two of us were running around forever, and like, where the fuck are we supposed to go? And like looking for a jump up somewhere or something, and then like, oh right, turn on the GPS. Oh look, there's the arrow. Oh, we're supposed to go to this wall in the back corner that looks
Funny, I know
completely
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Everywhere else in the game, up until that point, there are walls, and you can't do anything to them. So at that point, you get to that wall, and like all of a sudden, you're supposed to assume you can climb over it. I mean, like, yeah, it's stuff like that.
As a shooter, though, it's still solid. It was,
Yeah.
you know, it was still fun. You know, I had fun shooting my guns at the other guys, but I can get that from a lot of other games.
Right.
They're kind of like artsy, you know, fun ideas just hit the cutting room floor.
Yeah. The whole tampon thing, you know, like that whole scene. I mean, it's good that they cut it because, like, I remember in the reviewable we played 6 months ago or whatever. I mean, that was just lame. I mean, it was cool that they were trying this stuff, but like, it just takes you completely out of the experience. So I'm glad they ditched all that stuff. But I mean,
Well, I mean,
you know,
they could have kept it, but you know, do like the Gears of War reload thing. You know, make it a little mini game where instead of dragging the guy, you know, behind
Right.
it and then just waiting for a progress bar to happen, let me like, you know, hit in this like little range, and maybe I can heal him twice as fast. Or if I fail, then he dies. Or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
I know it. They probably got cut for the right reason, but I wish that there was a way that we could see what this other game might have been like,
Yeah.
whatever their original vision was, because I'm
I
surely.
guess it depends
Yeah.
on the, you know, it's like they cut for the right reason. I guess kind of means that, you know, that they had to cut it so that they could sell the game.
Right.
And they had to sell it with this complete single player experience, and the single player experience actually really hacks at the co-op experience. This game does not feel like a co-op game to me. It feels like a single player game with some co-op elements added to it.
Right.
And I think that's too bad because there was so many interesting things that they could have done with it.
If you could release a game like that was multiplayer only.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Are you going to put an Xbox 360 game on the shelves and say that like this is only a co-op experience? You can only play this with another person?
Yeah,
You
if
just
you don't
can't
have
do that.
if you don't have another person, sorry, no single player.
Right.
I think they could have done like something more.
Well, I think
more interesting.
But
with
see,
it.
what they wanted to do was actually have it so that you couldn't tell the difference. And I mean, if they could have pulled that off, then then great.
The designers of this game probably had really good intentions. I mean, I'm sure there are people there that totally understand private military corporations, and I think there are people there that have really cool new gameplay ideas about what could be done with a co-op shooter. And I feel that like the process and the fact that this is coming out from a major publisher and playtesting and all these things that allow a modern high-budget game to come out are totally fighting against them to make the game that they actually want.
Yeah,
to
the
make.
game feels focus grouped.
Yeah.
I will say though, like in EA's defense, I mean the fact that they gave it more time was great because the version that I played 6 months ago was not that good. Like checkpoints. They probably doubled the amount of checkpoints in the game. Like originally it was like you start at the beginning of the level, just glitches all left and right. I'm so glad that EA gave it more time because it is a much better game than it was last fall. I still had fun with it, and again, like in kind of the time of the year, it's pretty good because it doesn't have to like go up against Halo and all these other games like it would have had to last year.
I can play this game now, but what I'm really hoping for is, Army of 2.
Right. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a franchise for EA. They're going to do other ones, and as long as they have this like core gameplay kind of down, I'm interested to see what they could do with it next. I mean, like,
I'm interested to see what they can do next, as far as gameplay mechanics go. But
Well,
I want them to ditch the art and the characters and the cutscenes and the voice acting and the writing.